My first week of selling this product on Amazon FBA, I did over $7,000 in sales, which is awesome, but that number is revenue and not profit. The first cost associated with selling on Amazon for me was the cost to manufacture the boxes that I sold, which was a little over $2,500. And in this video, I want to share all my numbers, all the expenses and costs associated with selling on Amazon, including my startup costs and how I did it, how I actually was able to create a product and launch it on Amazon. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna share with you the biggest lesson I learned in this first week of selling on Amazon. And as I mentioned, I did over $7,000 in sales, but there's a lot of costs associated with selling on Amazon. The first one is the cost to manufacture the product itself, which cost me about $2,500. That's just the cost to manufacture the products that I sold within this first week. After that, of course, there's the Amazon selling fee. There's a flat 15% just to sell on the Amazon platform. That's another $1,200 or so. And there's also the Amazon FBA pick and pack fee, which was about $1,200 for me. And that's the cost that when a customer places an order with you, that's the cost for Amazon to pick it from their warehouse and ship it out to the customer. And there's also just other Amazon FBA fees. In this first week, probably spent about $200 or so in those other Amazon fees. These are fees such as storage fees. These are fees like when you send in units into the Amazon warehouse, receiving fees, just little ticky-tacky fees. They're not too much though. In this first week, it's probably around $200 in these other Amazon fees. And of course, as I always mention, there's just other fees in running an Amazon business. I'll calculate this to about $250 that I spent in other business expenses in this first week. And after you calculate all these expenses, in the first week selling on Amazon, I did about $2,000 profit. And again, this is profit because technically it is profit if you look from like an accounting point of view, but I'm not including all the startup costs associated with starting this business. There is startup costs, there's R&D costs, and there's just other random costs with starting to sell on Amazon, which I'll explain in detail in just a minute. But one thing I want to point out is, even though yes, there was a lot of startup costs, I think that this proves that you can still launch a product on Amazon, you can still do well, even with the pandemic going on, even with the looming recession, there's still opportunity here if you do it properly. There's really 3 steps to creating an Amazon business. And for anyone that is new to the channel, I have a product I've been selling on Amazon for a few years now. I've done almost $1 million in sales, around $300,000 profit with that product. And what ended up happening is competitors, lots of competitors, started creating similar products to mine, started coming in my space. And at first, that was okay, because as more competitors came into the healthy snack, keto, nut butter space, they were spending money on marketing and they were growing the pie. They were growing the amount of customers that were interested in this type of a product. But then slowly, as time went on, my sales did start to decline. And around this time, my manufacturer actually way jacked up the price to produce my product with him. They increased my price by 5x to do manufacturing. And that was about the breaking point. I ended up finding another manufacturer, but this other manufacturer, I needed to sign a contract basically saying that I was gonna be doing double as much production as I was currently selling, which means I needed to create a new product. And one thing I noticed when all these competitors were coming into my space, all my different competitors, their best-selling flavor, their best-selling product was a chocolate nut butter, a chocolate version of the product that I already had. So the light bulb went off for me and I realized I need to create my own chocolate product. And one key is don't just copy what other people are doing, always try to improve it. So I improved upon it and I made something that was sugar-free, no sweetener. All my competitors had a bunch of junk and fillers in their product and I wanted to do something that was really amazing. So I flew out to my manufacturer and I signed a contract basically saying, yeah, I'm gonna produce double as much as I'm currently selling, knowing that I would grow into it, knowing that this would force me to actually focus on my business and spend more time working on my business. And obviously there was a cost right there to fly out, the hotel, all that kind of stuff. But then the next fee was just a startup fee. There was, I think, $4,000 or $5,000 just to get started with him. And then there was another $1,600 or so to get a special part made for his machine, because he had a nut butter machine, but the size and the dimensions of the packages that he was creating didn't match the size that I wanted. So I had to get a custom die basically produced. That was another $1,600 or so. From there, we started doing R&D. And The first round of R&D, it was about $675 fee that I had to pay him, plus another $675 or so, maybe $700 in nuts. And after the first sample round, I tested the product, I thought it tasted all right, but then I gave it to some friends and everyone pretty much agreed it tasted pretty bland. So I went back and I did another round of R&D, and that was another $1,300 or so. I sent out this sample to people in my Facebook launch group, and I asked them, what do you like better, sample A or sample B? And it was pretty mixed results, but overall people said they wanted a little bit more chocolatey flavor. So I ended up going back and doing another R&D run, which is another $1,300 or so. And I want to be very clear at this point. I had a lot of sleepless nights. I was waking up with like anxiety at times, which is absolutely ridiculous, but I'm trying to be honest and trying to be transparent with these videos. I was so terrified that that it wasn't gonna work out. And remember that during this time I was under contract of basically that in the next few months I would have to start producing double as much product. And I know that sounds like a scary thing, but it was actually a good thing because it did kind of motivate me to work a little bit harder, but at the same time, there was a lot of fear. And at this point, I finally decided on the exact ratios of my product formula of the recipe. And I also had some other fees along the way. There's like a $70 fee for the design and just some other random things. In fact, one thing that really bothered me was my manufacturer started charging me storage fees and monthly maintenance fees, even though we weren't really doing anything. In fact, a lot of times I'd send him an email and I'd have to wait a few weeks to get a reply, and that really bothered me because I felt like I'm spending all this money on monthly maintenance fees and storage fees. Why don't you respond a little bit faster so I don't have to spend that? And that's not normal. Most manufacturers don't have monthly maintenance fees or storage fees, but because my guy basically helps do all the ordering of the nuts and helps do a little bit more, they charge these maintenance fees. And again, during this time, I was really wondering, did I make a mistake in going with this manufacturer? Did I make a mistake in signing the contract? But eventually I just kept pushing on. And the next few costs where there was cost to actually make the boxes that the caddies, they're called, that the pouches go into. There was the cost to make the film that the pouches are made from. There was cost for what's called master cases. And 12 of my caddies basically go into one box that I end up sending into Amazon, and that's the box that holds the 12 caddies is a master case. And then there was just little other random fees along the way. All in all, I think it was around $15,000 just to get started. Now, one thing I will note to my manufacturer's credit is I ended up calling him because he was charging me, we had a lot of disagreements, and I ended up saying like, look, I'm really upset. I'm thinking about, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And he basically said, you know what, I'm gonna give you $1,000 credit because there was some things that I talk about in other videos that were happening that I just felt like, I felt like I was always getting the raw end of the deal. Because anytime there was a mistake made, I felt like it was always on me. And that's things that I didn't talk about in this video, I've talked about in previous videos. But the next stage is actually launching the product on Amazon. And this is maybe one of the most important parts because all the manufacturing is worthless unless you can properly launch your product on Amazon. And there's a lot of different things in this. I did a video recently where I talked in depth about how to launch on Amazon, but I'm gonna summarize it right here for you. So during this entire process, I was marketing on Instagram and I was marketing within my Facebook group, and I was trying to basically get everybody from Instagram over, get their email, and then get them over to my Facebook group. And along the way too, anytime someone would sign up for my email list, I'd send them a personal email and really try to create a really strong connection with them so that when I go to launch on Amazon, hopefully they would actually purchase. Then within the Facebook group itself, I would ask people questions. As I mentioned, I'd send out samples and get people's feedback. I'd ask them, hey, how much salt should there be? Should there be salt crystals in it? And that's an example of a question I asked, and I got an overwhelmingly positive response. I said, should there be salt crystals? And like 32 people said yes, and like 2 people said no. Meaning, should the salt be like smooth, or should you be able to like taste little bits of crystals? And that's the power of a Facebook launch group, because that was the decision I was stuck in my head about for 2 or 3 days. And then all I had to do was post in my Facebook launch group, and I got an answer like that. But here's the key. This whole time, it's not just about getting their feedback and helping make it so I can have easier decisions. It's about marketing. It's about getting them interested in the product, getting them involved in this creation process. And that's a key to launching a product, is you want to have a group of raving fans. The other thing that I've talked about in depth in other videos is the buildup. A month before you launch your product, you want to send out emails, you want to send out posts on Instagram, you want to let everybody know the date that you're going to be launching on Amazon. And then do the same thing 3 weeks before, 2 weeks before, 1 week before, and then the week before, really start turning it to 11. Really start upping your marketing ability and letting everybody know on all the different platforms, Instagram, YouTube if you have it. If you were watching my YouTube channel, you noticed that I said, hey everybody, it's coming out in 1 week. Any way you can let people know, and make sure the day before you're sending out emails, that you're posting on all your different social media, stories, all that fun stuff. Then the day of, really hit it hard. Send personal emails to everyone, send personal Facebook messages, Instagram direct messages, obviously send out emails, all that kind of stuff. And then during that week, you'll send out a few more emails. Obviously, one thing I didn't mention yet is I'd recommend doing a discounted price for the first week. That way, all the people that have been supporting you, you can kind of thank them and let them basically get in on the discount. This also creates scarcity because they know they only have a week to buy. When people think that they have the rest of their life to buy something, it never really ends up happening. So you want to let them know the sale ends in 1 week. And now I want to talk about the biggest mistake I made in this first week of selling on Amazon. And that mistake was being afraid of money. And I grew up basically with a little bit of fear around money. We didn't go out to restaurants often, but when we would, there was always this sense of, hey, you can only order from the cheaper section. Don't even look at the right side. Don't look at the meat and seafood. And there was this kind of weird fear around money. And when the bill would come, I could see the pain in my dad's face. And so for me, entrepreneurship has been tough because I hate spending money. It absolutely kills me. When I make mistakes, like I mentioned earlier, during the manufacturing stage, a $1,600 mistake here, $1,300 mistake there, it hurts me so bad and I stay up late at night. And honestly, the way I try to describe this to people is the way I felt about money growing up was it was almost like that dragon. It was like a dragon that was over the hill and it would terrorize my psychology, it would terrorize my city basically. And the big wake-up call I realized is Amazon FBA, entrepreneurship in general, is a way for you to slay the dragon. It's a way to go to the dragon's lair, kill it, so you never have to worry about it again. Because as I mentioned, in the first week of launching this product, I did about $2,000 profit if you look at it from an accounting point of view. And still technically, I guess you could say it's a negative profit, but if I can continue week after week to do $2,000 net profit, eventually all those startup costs will get taken care of and eventually it will be profitable. And I know this because I did it with my first product. And this leads me to the question that a lot of people have been asking me, is it too late to sell on Amazon right now? Especially with the pandemic, everything going on. And I go into depth in this video right here about why it's not too late. I share some crazy statistics that are absolutely gonna surprise you. So click on that video. I'll see you in the next video. Remember to enjoy the journey and to slay the money dragon at the end of the journey. Thanks guys.